The Baltimore Ravens have done it again. Eric DeCosta is a genius. Jaire Alexander comes to Baltimore on a one-year deal. It's officially official. We talk about the move and how the Ravens just continue to run laps around the NFL, as well as some day two minicamp takeaways. All that and more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into another episode of the show. Welcome in. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here and making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. We're free and available on all podcasting platforms, including video form on YouTube, where we're live yesterday reacting to the Jaire Alexander news. You can like and subscribe in video form. You can also follow along and subscribe in audio form, where those live shows, they come out after the fact. We're a 5-day-week Ravens show. So Monday through Friday, we got that daily Ravens coverage for you. Plus, we do go live after pieces of big Ravens news, after every single Ravens game, and a lot more. So thank you to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners. And if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. Here with me today, it is former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail, also of Missile Training and missiletraining.com. And Hugh, man, what a day it was on Tuesday. I mentioned there on Wednesday. I'm getting the days mixed up because it was such a hectic day on Wednesday, where the live show, me reacting to Jaire, was pretty much just me stumbling over my words in disbelief for 30 minutes because I thought it was possible. I didn't know that it was actually going to happen, especially at the price point the Ravens got him at. So, man, Q, minicamp, was there a minicamp practice yesterday? I don't even know, because Jaire Alexander, he took all the headlines on Wednesday.
It's so crazy when Lamar was at the podium and he was asked whether or not he was going to talk to Eric DeCosta about Jaire and whether or not he was going to be, politicking for him to be on the team. Sure enough, you turn around, he's like, yeah, I put in a word, but he kind of nonchalantly pushed it away. But it's cool to see where literally, as the guys were talking, and as I think it was either Marlon or who was it? It was, why am I slipping? Kyle Hamilton. Thank you. Kyle actually said Jaire was being signed literally as they were talking at lunch before they went out. In comes Lamar, and Lamar is saying, hey, we got him. And then 5 seconds later, it was blasted on national. So bottom line, word got out quick. I think this is great for the Ravens. I think this is, when you say now and we want it now, not future, this is a now type of a signing that you want to have for your team.
You know what? And the reason it is now, Q, it's a 1-year deal. We're not talking 2 years. We're not talking 3. We're not talking 4. 1-year deal. Get it done now. And that's what Jaire brings to the table here. And look, I just think the Ravens, Q, this is such a Ravens move. They continue to run laps around the rest of the league. The Ravens run laps around the rest of the league by continuing to make moves like this. And what I mean by that is there were reports earlier in the day, Adam Schefter on the Pat McAfee show, saying that, hey, the Panthers, they're offering money. They're interested. But, hey, Baltimore, there's mutual interest between Jaire and the Ravens. But Carolina could obviously offer more money. It comes out after the Ravens signed Jaire that he turned down more to play in Baltimore, play with Lamar Jackson, and try to win a Super Bowl. This is what you get when you have that reputation as a great organization, a stable organization. Jaire probably didn't want to go to a place where, hey, maybe Carolina plays badly, maybe the players around him aren't as talented, and that affects his play. This, to me, is a move that the Ravens, like these other organizations that don't have the reputation that Baltimore has, they can't make moves like this. They can't get Jaire Alexander at the price point that Baltimore got him at because they don't offer the same things that the Ravens do, both on and off the field. Eric DeCosta got on the phones. He got it working. And to me, this is a move that a lot of organizations can't make, but the Ravens can, and that gives them a huge advantage.
So I think the one thing that really pops off the screen to me is that if you're a winning organization, and you have the charisma and the star power on both sides of the football, then yeah, guys are going to perk up and listen. I think when, say, for example, the Carolina Panthers, where you don't quite have that cachet, sure, you have some guys, but you're talking about a new coach, new situation, trying to figure out whether or not you're going to even be around for next year. That's where money does not talk. Money actually is a detriment, because basically you're probably going to be doing a one-year deal if there is a new regime, or if you fall out of favor because the high expectations, you're the only guy. When you're on a winning program, when you're on a winning squad, and you're getting paid, maybe not getting top dollar, but you're still getting paid, you're surrounding yourself with other guys. When I look out on the field and the ones versus the ones in minicamp, man, it's Nate Wiggins, it's sitting there, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Sanusi Kane was getting some reps out there. It's one of those scenarios where in your mind, you're like, man, I can come in there. Malaki Starks is Roman in the back. Those are some really stud players. I don't have to do a lot. I can do my job, be dynamic, and I got other guys that are first rounders, that are pro bowlers, that are all pro, that know how to play. Why not? I can get more money and win a ring. So in other words, like, I come in like at this hired assassin, if you will, do my thing, and now I can go ahead and go elsewhere. If I got a ring, man, that just adds even more to my value when it comes to me going back onto the market.
Yeah, it's the same thing that, honestly, we talked about Chidobe Awuzie. He gets cut. He's still getting paid by Tennessee, gets an opportunity to come to Baltimore. Now, I don't think Chidobe Awuzie anticipated Marlon Humphrey coming to the squad, but it helps everybody, right? In terms of they all want to win. Chidobe came to Baltimore to win a Super Bowl. Jaire came to Baltimore to win a Super Bowl, and that helps everybody involved. So you look at Baltimore's secondary now, Q, just in the cornerback room first. It's Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, with Jaire Alexander, Awuzie, TJ Tampa, Jalen Armour-Davis, your later round draft picks as well. Not to mention, you got Kyle Hamilton and Malaki Starks, and you mentioned guys like Sanusi Kane and Bill Braden. You listing all those guys off, it's just like, man, how did they do this? The Ravens really only had Brian McFarland, Ravens salary cap, reporting that Baltimore really only had about $5 million-ish in workable salary cap space, considering all the other expenses they're going to have to pay out during the year. And they got it. It was 1 year, $4 million for Jaire, up to $6 million for Jaire. This is still a player that, when healthy, in my opinion, is a top 10 cornerback, someone that can come in and make a really big impact. But we know that the name of the game, Q, with Jaire is the injuries. He's only played in 7 games in each of the last 2 seasons. He's a little slight of frame, but for some people, I know some people don't really think it's that big of a deal, but others really think it's, he's a 5'10 corner, 196 pounds, but he's a 2-time Pro Bowl, 2-time All-Pro player. We know the resume speaks for itself, and I think that rotating him in, this to me, mentioning guys like Zach Orr and all the coaches on this squad, Jaire gives them so many endless possibilities, and I can't wait to see what this team cooks up with them.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, the endless possibilities. The one question mark that I have, I know we'll talk more about, what I saw observationally and, minicamp practices, but I will say this, the one, kind of observation is, do they get fancy and play that big nickel and not really care to either Trenton Simpson or who is the other guys? Is it Buchanan? Is it Hummel? Are those other linebackers, are they going to be guys that, Malik Ham, are you going to just, and that first down, next thing all of a sudden you got Big Nickel in the game. And then Big Nickel dominates you know what I'm saying? So that's where my curiosity comes in. And again, Nate Wiggins ain't a big guy. Come on now. Like, you don't need big corners. Like, you just need effective corners. And I think that's where the effectiveness of that inside flow when it comes to Marlon and what he can do, when it comes to Kyle, what he can do. And that's where I think on the outside and the Snoozy Canes and the Bo Braids, what they can hold down as far as their ability to get in from a rotational aspect of things. And then, of course, you do have somewhat of a larger corner in TJ Tampa, who that's my guy now. I'm liking how he was looking. We'll talk about all that again, my observations, but the overall package of what I think the coaching staff and like we just touched upon, whether it be Zo sitting there picking the brain of his crew, and here's what they're going to do to implement some of the style of play, the confusion of play that is the Baltimore Ravens defense. If you don't know who to block or you don't know how to really make it all happen and work for yourself, then that's advantage Ravens, because you're not going to be running your offense. They're going to be in the backfield being very disruptive.
Yeah, they're stacked. They are absolutely stacked. Jaire, looking at him as the final piece, I certainly feel that way. And coming up in the second part of the show, we'll continue talking about how Jaire fits the Ravens and why the Ravens, again, just continue to run laps around the rest of the league with moves like this. So be sure to stay tuned. A lot coming up on the show. First, the show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where'd all my money go? Because I know I have. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. And when I started using Monarch, I realized really how much I was spending on a lot of things I had no idea I was spending that much on, but now I'm able to budget smarter and save more with Monarch. Plus, managing money with your partner, it's smoother than ever, and I love this because you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Again, use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com, 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Back here on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Qadry Ismail still talking with you here, breaking down the Ravens signing Jaire Alexander, officially a member of the Ravens, 1-year deal, $4 million worth up to $6 million guaranteed, which is just crazy for a player of Jaire's talent, even with the injuries involved and everything that he's been through these past 2 years in that regard. But something that I've noticed about the Ravens is their messaging with Lamar Jackson. You talked about the comments Lamar made, right? His comments at the podium on Tuesday, he was very clear, right? Hey, I love our corners, but go get them. Go get them. And then it's been in the works, and I'm curious to know if Lamar knew something like that. That to me is my neck. Did Lamar know something before all this went down and he put those comments out there? I'm sure, I'm sure he wasn't all oblivious to the fact that something might have been going down there, especially because he and Jaire had been communicating prior. But the Ravens have made it clear, Q, Lamar is a shareholder. Lamar is an important voice in not just on the field, but organizationally, how they build this roster. There are organizations that don't do that players are players, coaches are coaches, executives are executives. The Ravens truly have a top-down system where they value the opinions of, and it's not just Lamar. You remember, I called it back in the day. It wasn't really that long ago. I don't remember what they were called, but it was like the Matthew Judons and that leadership committee that they had. I think maybe Ronnie was a part of that and some other guys, where they would go to the coaching staff. They would go to the organization and say how they were feeling. The player voices are truly valued. But for Lamar Jackson, Q, we know that the Ravens, they drafted Marquise Brown largely because Lamar wanted Marquise Brown in Baltimore. They took him over players like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, etc. in that draft class. We know Lamar looks at wide receivers. He likes to give the organization guys he likes, particularly some South Florida players. And we know Zay Flowers, right? That was a guy that popped to Lamar during 2023. Lamar says to the organization, hey, I'd like to play with DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham Jr. Well, both those guys have been Ravens in less than 2 years, or right around 2 years since Lamar Jackson said that. Odell right when he said it, and DeAndre Hopkins here this offseason. And now Lamar makes those public comments for Jaire Alexander. And guess what? Less than 24 hours later, right around 24 hours later, Jaire becomes a member of the Ravens. So again, these players feel like they have the respect of the organization, and players talk. I mean, you know this firsthand. Players talk to each other. They ask around, right, about, hey, how's this place? How's that place? You know, how would this be? How would that be? When players ask about the Ravens, for the most part, I'm sure a lot of these guys have nothing but glowing things to say, and that helps the Ravens make moves like this.
It's interesting for Lamar. He doesn't want to talk about his contract, and I think that is where at least he doesn't want to talk about it publicly, and he doesn't want to do it over, from a media aspect of things. And because his mom and him, they do it on their own, and they seek out their own wisdom and style and negotiation and all that. I think it puts him in such a position of strength to show good faith. Hey, Lamar, like, here's what we're trying to do for you. Here's what we're trying to do for ourselves. Here's what we're trying to do for the team. Let's go. What does let's go mean? Let's get a deal done. Let's get an extension done. And I think this is something that, can be put into that category of let's get something done. I think they, looking to kind of settle their waters, if you will, from a salary cap aspect of things, and not feel the pressure of what is going to be, because you got other guys that are kind of like just waiting. The Zay Flowers will come up. They took care of Bateman, but then you got Isaiah Likely. You got, on the fence with Mark Andrews, you already, kind of dug in and paid him his bonus and all that. But you're going to be having these other young guys come up, like the Kyle Hamiltons of the world. They're going to be coming up, and what do you do about him? Those are the things that, for the bigger picture, hey, Lamar, hey, we got Jaire Alexander, your boy, like, what's up? We re-signed Bateman. D-Hop, he came in, hook us up now. So I think that's some of the little details that I see for Eric Costa and the front office, and them just saying, look, we're doing our thing, like, come to the table so we can continue to do our thing. But then at the same time, Steve Bisciotti was there, and it's about now. So we ain't worrying about it. He was there talking to Jaire, and at the same time, sitting there just talking to EDC, sitting there looking at his, all right, this is my club, this is my team. He said it was a hobby. So I could fire all these dudes if I wanted to, but I'm not, because I think we're going to win the Super Bowl because of the things we're doing now. So, again, another now type signing.
I love it. And I just want to visualize this. I have the graphic of the Ravens updated secondary here. I mean, it is just unbelievable. Not just the star power they have, and Jaire certainly adds to that, but you look at the depth as well here with players like a TJ Tampa, Jalen Armour-Davis getting some reps at safety, and him trying to find his way. So, you're starting five here, which, by the way, all first-round picks, all first-rounders, Hamilton, Humphrey, Wiggins, Alexander, and Malaki Starks. All those guys are first-rounders. Plus, you have other opportunities to get your depth pieces in, which is really important here. I think that for Jaire, the big part of it, too, is he's, for as weird as it sounds, he's a little bit of a depth piece here. And to say that about a top 10 corner, I still just, it feels so wrong to say. But injuries happen. If Marlon or Nate were to go down, you now have another all-pro corner you can just throw out there. And you mentioned a little bit earlier with the fact that I personally do expect the Ravens to run a little bit of big nickel and dime packages and one inside linebacker, because, look, you can run your base defense, but the reason they did that with PQ and Roquan was because PQ was so good next to Roquan. But if you don't have that option, it does open up other possibilities where you're not married to keeping Trenton on the field or Teddy Buchanan on the field if it's not working, or if you just have better players you want to put out there, which is where you were talking about it earlier, the endless possibilities that it gives them. And I think for a player like Jaire and joining what this Ravens defense already had, for some context about it, over the course of the last handful of seasons. So this coming from Next Gen Stats, tight window target rate, outside cornerback since 2018. Byron Jones, former Cowboys, Dolphins player, he was number 1 on this list here. But Marlon Humphrey is number 2. Javarius Ward, who's a Colts guy, he's played for a couple other teams as well. He was number 3. Jaire Alexander, number 4, and Chidobe Awuzie, number 5. 3 of the top 5 tight window target rate corners on the same team, plus Nate Wiggins continuing to ascend. This defense truly has it all. But coming up in the final part of the show, we'll talk about how that defense looked at mandatory minicamp because Q was on the ground. He saw what happened. We'll talk about his takeaways from minicamp, Lamar Jackson, and others as well. Stay tuned. A lot coming your way on the show. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Qadry Ismail still talking with you here. Ravens football. Obviously, the big news is Jaire Alexander. Q and I have covered that extensively, but I want to get into some minicamp because that became the forgotten thing on Wednesday because Jaire took up all those headlines, as I mentioned earlier. So, Q, you were out there for minicamp. You saw these guys work. You saw these guys perform. Well, let's just do a Lamar specific thing first. How did Lamar look over the 2 days? You know, did he look good? Were there things he's trying to work on? What were your takeaways from watching Lamar these past couple of days?
So just from a fitness aspect of things, I think Lamar looked great. I think he looked fast. I think he, just, man, he's ready to go. I think in the 2 days, 3 days technically of this offseason that I saw, obviously the 1 day comes in when it is, minicamp, or I'm sorry, OTA. He just was slinging it. Looked great. These 2 days, it kind of looked like, I'm here. I'm ready, but I'm also ready to go. So there were some throws, that I think he would have probably said he would love to have had back. But, yeah, he was engaged. He was there. It's like, all right, bet. Some of his passes were batted down. Again, the defense swarming, doing their thing. I think that they're, excited to kind of pick up their pace and see what they can do. But I think from a Lamar Jackson standpoint, it was like, all right, minicamp. All right, it's over. I don't really care to be here. Bye-bye. Let's get on to the big boy thing of training camp. I think that's where his mind is in the future rather than in that present time.
And I know that there were a couple of plays that you mentioned Lamar wish he had back, and I think it's fitting that the defense kind of showed their stuff a little bit with Jaire Alexander in attendance. Jaire did not practice, by the way, Q. I know he was on the sideline. You're able to see him for the first time, but not actually out there with his teammates practicing. Just, he was talking to guys. You can see the clips that they posted up on social media and for everybody to see. Really nice that Bo Brady was able to return to practice here. I know that people weren't sure whether he or Chidobe Awuzie would be able to come back from minicamp, and apparently he, according to everything that I've been reading here, had a really nice day at practice, had an interception, and he looks like he's good and healthy. I mean, we talk about the secondary. I mean, how'd the secondary guys look to you? Nate Wiggins being out there, Marlon, some of these vets getting some work under their belt. I mean, Jaire was there watching, and based off of everything, seems like he should be pretty happy with what he saw on Wednesday.
No, he absolutely is going to be giggling because that group, both days, the guy that really stood out was TJ Tampa. He had an interception on both days. One was in the red zone, and I think it was D. Wade tried to go up on him, and he was like, "Nah, I ain't having it," and was able to get the interception. Then today's minicamp, his second day, you saw where he just stepped right in front of a pass. I think that was from Cooper Rush. And just beautiful job of reading his eyes and being able to pick it off. Awuzie, like you said, he was just on the point where he was able to step in front of a curl route. I think overall, the speed of which the communication from all of the guys was on point. And I think that's really, this time it usually takes a minute for guys to kind of concentrate and talk and communicate. But I didn't really see a whole lot of, kind of pointing and teaching. It was like, we're here, we're ready, let's go. And I saw that from the first and second unit, which is really good because that shows that the second unit, is being held accountable, yet they also are going to be ready, just for whatever the depth of it all is going to look like. You can never have too many corners, as Ozzy is famous for saying. But with that, yes, the defense in these 2 days, especially from a secondary aspect of things, and yes, defensive front-wise, they got after it. Absolutely very impressive.
Who were some other standouts that you liked? The names that I've been reading up on and seeing people talk about. Tez Walker continued his strong showing so far. Aeneas Peebles apparently was able to get some work in. You mentioned some guys on that defensive front. Other players were able to make an impact. So who are some guys that really stood out to you outside of the guys I've already talked about?
Yeah. So, Tez Walker, his OTA into this mini camp, if anything, it should just validate that last year he was probably trying to figure things out. I think from the Giants special teams / getting an opportunity to play, scoring, from that point forward, I think he was like, yo, I am ready to do this, period. And he just looks smooth, period. Like, just, man. But Trenton Simpson running with the ones looked great. Buchanan, Hummel looked smart, fast, moving around when they had their opportunities with the twos. D front wise, you saw Matabike bat a ball down. You saw where it was technically, it was really gorgeous. And this is where I'm like, Lamar, I'm sure he's probably like, yeah, whatever. But Zo dialed up a slot corner blitz, and he had a stunt going on with Roquan. And I'm just visualizing in my mind, there was a D lineman who occupied space. I'm not sure if that was Travis Jones I think it was Travis Jones. Yeah, I don't think it was Matabike. But, man, it happened so fast. Like, it was like, whoa. And Lamar, it's like, oh, like they just got up on him so quickly. So that action, it was really cool to see, because that's where the secondary, they held strong and they were able to plaster. So, again, like, just the cohesiveness of the 2 days. Here's one where I think, people might want to clown him, but he was defended by Lamar and Mark Andrews. I don't know about last year. Clearly, he had some things going on. Clearly, he got into the car accident and it hampered his progression. That dude looked fast. That dude looks in shape. Like, fast. 2 times, one in the first minicamp practice, one in the second minicamp practice, where he caught a ball and like took it about 60, separating, and looked good. So yeah, I know, you're asking me who looked what, but I gotta mention him. And I can see why Lamar, like, yo man, let's not forget, that's my guy. He looked good. So I was impressed. I think offensive line wise, like, again, it's hard, difficult. D-line's going to kind of get a little bit of the edge. I just like the way they were working. That's all. I just like the way they were working. I think they were solid. I think they were strong. Interesting. Tyler Loop, the consistency, and I think, John Harbaugh defended him a little bit with the media, like saying, hey, yeah, they're just working on some technique things. There's going to be some new stuff that we have. But if there is ever a position battle that is like we're just not used to because of Billy Cundiff and the way in which it was going back and forth, and finally Justin Tucker took off and never looked back, like done, never looked back. This one here kind of feels like, okay, we know that, we hope you can win this thing, bruh, because Detroit's coming through that door. Kansas City, we like, yo, what's up? we got the Rams, bro. Like, what you gonna do? And I think, it's that kind of, that Colts practice and that Commanders practice, like, if I don't care, don't ask me. I know you're going to, and I'm going to ignore you. I'm just going to be like, Kevin, I'm not answering any of your questions. All I care about is Tyler Loop and the battle of the kickers. That's all I'm going to do when I go to those joint practices. Some stuff is going on. Oh, did you see that beautiful pass that the Lamar threw and Bateman snagged it out of there? Oh, did you see Isaiah Likely go up and one hand grab it? Nope. Oh, man, BK was housing him. Bro, I'm telling you, he's about to have another breakout type year. What's up? Oh, my goodness. Nope. Blinders on. I'm going over to the kickers, and I'm just watching. Because Tyler Loop needs to have a great camp so we don't sweat it. All the pieces are in play. Last I checked, rookie year, homeboy Justin Tucker was clutch. Come on now. We got to go to Denver in some cold weather. Woo! Got kicking through the uprights now. Ha-ha. Let's not mess around. So this year, if we got to go to Kansas City, we got to go to Buffalo, we don't care. We got to go to Cincinnati, we don't care. We got to have Pittsburgh come through, we don't care. Bruh, like, let's get it. That's the bottom line. And that's where Tyler Loop, if there's ever a kicking battle, let me even see, here's the thing. I kind of was like, Tyler Loop. But where's the other dude? Okay, John Hoyland. John and Tyler, man, don't make me come out of the stands.
We're going to be locked on Tyler Loop, apparently, for all the training camp, for all the joint practices. That's all we're going to be, locked on Tyler Loop. That's it. So I love it. It's a big competition, too, because there are going to be some growing pains for Tyler, some ups and downs, but I'm excited to see how he performs, especially during the training camp portion of things, because you're right. I think getting it down there will be imperative for the regular season stuff that Tyler Loop's going to have to bring to the table. But Q, I appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on. Were there any players that you were disappointed from? Anybody you wished you had seen a little more from? I'm curious to see if you had anybody in that realm. And then, of course, please tell people where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say the word disappointment per se. Just like, oh, yeah, what happened to Justice Hill? He was there, but I was like, yeah, didn't really, and it's hard because running the ball, but something out of the backfield, I guess I was expecting. Isaiah Likely kind of, we had a relatively quiet mini camp. I was like, all right, I think Broderick Washington, I didn't see up close because he was on the far end of the field. So I don't necessarily say again, this is like, oh my God, an indictment. And next thing you know, I'm getting some text messages like, yo, bro, what's up? What you saying? But I think, those are some guys that I was like, I guess I just wanted to see more. That's all. Daniel Fa, Lele, there were some things there that, I was like, yeah, step up a little bit more. Let's see it. But I think overall, minicamp is minicamp. And, the guys that I saw that showed up and showed out, good for them. There's some other guys that I know that they're going to be fighting for some jobs. And special teams is where they're going to make the team. But they got to show themselves that they can make the club as well by showing out on whatever position that they are on the field. Missile training. MissileTraining.com is where you can find me. MissileTraining.com is where you can go to if you're looking for human movement and sports performance. MissileTraining.com doesn't matter the age. If you're 6 years old, all the way up to 85, as long as you have that heart and desire to be the best that you can be. Love to help you understand and unlock the movement matrix, if you will, to be a durable athlete or a durable person. At the same time, it's individual training, team training, small group training. Doesn't matter. We fit your needs. We got a good recovery program, too, to help you out, to help you be the very best you can be. Check us out, missiletraining.com. Of course, when it comes to the football side of things, there is the Locked On Ravens. And every week, Kevin Oestreicher and I, here, we break it down with you, the fan, and we are going to be there with you talking about how John and Tyler can do their kicking battle in joint practices. We're going to give you that inside look because we are going to be breaking down some games this year, and one of those games is going to come down to one of those dudes making a kick through the uprights. We know it. Let's go.
It is true. It is true. Q, I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody for listening, watching today to Locked On Ravens. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be continuing to dive into the Jaire Alexander conversation and minicamp as well. So hit the like and subscribe button on the way out in video form. Follow along in audio form. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.